Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Attacking Two. I'm your host, Jimmy Funnell, and as always, I'm joined by my fellow host, Andy Martin, and by returning guest, and as Andy will be leaving the podcast, unfortunately, due to personal reasons, we are ecstatic to welcome a new host to our podcast, and that is Laurenz. Some might know him in the Chelsea scene or not, who knows, but I'd expect most people to know who Laurenz is. Laurenz, great to have you on board.
Well, thank you for asking me. Obviously, thank you to Andy for kind of handing over, I guess. Obviously, don't make it sound so serious. Saying personal notes sounds so, I don't know, so dramatic. It's nothing serious. Andy's fine. But yeah. It's nothing serious. So like I say, yeah, thank you for having me. Well, it's just great to do this. Like, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope we can do a lot with it. And just let Andy talk about, his last hosting part of a podcast.
The last words, yeah. Well, I'm glad, obviously, that I can hand over my role on the podcast to another Austrian chap. You know I like you. It's obviously a pleasure to have my last episode here on the podcast. Looking forward. There could be a better day to kind of leave the podcast after yet another trophy for Chelsea Football Club. So obviously very delighted to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about after yesterday. Was an absolutely phenomenal evening. Also a lot to talk about in regard to the future. So as we have now addressed the change of roles, let's get right into this. So as always, you know the question. All right. Okay, lads. I mean, Andy and I watched the game together yesterday evening, so we know how ecstatic and how absolutely bonkers we went. But Laurenz, I mean, did you ever think that we'd just in 23 minutes, 4 goals? I mean, that was ridiculous.
Nah, honestly, like if anyone watched my previews or just followed me on Twitter or whatever, I was not confident whatsoever. Ever since Loftus-Cheek got injured, I was like, we're not winning this. Like, there is, in my head, realistically thinking, there was no chance. Like, I don't know. I was like, we're not going to be good enough to defend against Aubameyang and Lacazette, and then without Loftus-Cheek, we can't attack anyway. And then it was like the only saving grace we have or had in my head was Hazard doing something out of, something ridiculously special, which he sometimes does, but not actually that often when the rest of the team doesn't do that well. But yesterday, he did something special, and the rest of the team again did pretty well, especially in the second half. Well, somehow we just pulled it out the bag. I don't really know how, and like you say, it was just, I went ballistic, especially for the second goal, because the first goal, I'm like, we took the lead plenty of times this season, and then it didn't end up going that well, So only the second goal that made me feel a lot more secure. The third goal, of course, even better, and then the 4-1 just sealed it. I mean, once they got their goal back, and then we were like, nah, you're not getting any hope today, and just make it 4-1. It was beautiful. It was some very good goals, although to be fair, the best goal of the night was certainly Iwobi's. There was some great goals in there, some great football, some great dedication, some hard-working players, and just the delight after it. The delight by Sarri, the delight by a lot of the players. Really good running around on crutches and hitting everyone with his crutches, which was hilarious. And then when he got his medal, like Caballero being stood behind him and just holding him so he doesn't fall over onto his injured knee. It was great. But yeah, unbelievable night. I mean, it is only the Europa League, so it is not like 2012. Of course it isn't, but it's still good. And I guarantee that had Valencia beaten Arsenal, we wouldn't feel as great as we do right now, because beating Arsenal in the final made it a lot bigger and a lot, I don't know, just more special and just a lot more fun, especially with how confident the Arsenal fans were, pre-final.
I watched actually the preview between Luis and Troops on YouTube, and I mean, I think Troops did then say after the game, yeah, this is going to be, meme material for the future. But they were so confident. It was like no problem. We're going to do this. To be fair, when I think about what we were talking about pre-game yesterday in the studio, most people weren't confident. Only when the news broke, the team news broke, N'Golo Kante is able to play, did actually, the spirits get lifted. I mean, and what was your feeling when we got the news, hey, Kante's fit enough to play, even though nobody thought he would be?
Yeah, it was a sign of hope for me, because I could get myself up to this game. If I'm brutally honest, thinking back, even FA Cup games where we had, let's say, FA Cup semi-finals 4 years ago, I was more up for these games. And I was just sitting at home prior to the game and thinking, wow, if we go there and we concede, we're going to lose in terrible fashion. And then I played the game once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And then kind of like I got myself up to it, but I still wasn't confident. As we walked into the studio, obviously the team news, Kante playing, Giroud through the middle, which was not a surprise, but still I thought if we play Higuain, we had a worse chance of winning. And then, first 30 minutes weren't convincing as well. Arsenal had us more or less with these crossed up diagonal balls. That was something to be at. But still, I was happy that we didn't concede in the first half and everything fell into place so perfectly in the second half. It's hard to find words for it. It was just flashes of brilliance. And once Arsenal, we knew that they weren't coming back. Even with the Iwobi goal, it was kind of like, they have a goal now, but the way the game went the same way. I said, and this maybe sounds terrible, but I thought if we had conceded first, we would have lost 4-1. It was just one of these games. But obviously this football club is about winning. I thought we had lost the DNA over the years, and that's maybe why I wasn't confident. But still, when we go to European finals, we usually win them if certain players don't slip up, and that's how glad I am to be a Chelsea fan, because we are not a bottle job, not like Arsenal.
Fair. A bit harsh, maybe, but fair. No, I mean, they didn't play well yesterday, and I think most Arsenal fans will agree on that. They just showed no heart at all, no desire, and once those 2 goals went in short succession, pretty much done and dusted, which is, of course, maybe a bit sad, because maybe, a bit more of a spectacle would have been good, but as there was no actual atmosphere there due to different reasons, it was always difficult. But I mean, a win's a win, and to be fair, it's a European Cup. At the moment, we can actually sing Champions of Europe. Sunday, maybe Champions of Europa sounds better, but generally for now, we are the Champions of Europe. Also, I think I can speak for most Chelsea fans. I really want to win that Super Cup. I really do. That's one in the trophy cabinet that we haven't had yet. So that would be brilliant. But, I mean, one of the main talking points yesterday was, of course, Eden Hazard. One could say a man of the match performance. 2 goals, 1 assist, if I'm not mistaken, for Pedro's goal. So brilliant performance, even though he wasn't too good in the first half. I mean, Laurenz, what is left of his legacy? I mean, he's given us a brilliant parting gift. I think most of us knew he's going to go. He did say, it does seem like it's going to be goodbye. Are you gutted? Are you mad? I mean, I've seen different reactions on Twitter, but for me personally, I couldn't really be mad about him.
No, I mean, if you've seen it, fair enough, but I've not seen anybody be angry at him, and I wouldn't really understand why. I mean, the only thing you can criticize is that he could have been more open to the club about wanting to leave a bit sooner, but maybe he just hadn't made his mind up until 2 weeks ago, like you said. Maybe. I mean, that's, up to him. He still has a year of, left on his contract. He shouldn't be forced to make any decisions earlier. So I don't think we can really criticize him. I mean, he gave us six great years. One of them was poor, but he gave us 6 great years. And even though last summer he did say after the World Cup he kind of fancies a new challenge, but then it didn't happen because Chelsea simply said, no, you're not leaving. And then he gave us his best ever season. Yes, you can talk about maybe, he wanted to show himself even more to Real Madrid. But at the end of the day, I don't even care. If he gets us top 4 and wins us a title, I don't really care why. Like, in the end, he did it for us, not for Real Madrid, the performances, the goals, the assists. So I'm happy with that. When you talk about a legacy, that's where, as much as he might be the most gifted player to ever play for Chelsea Football Club, even though I had never really seen Zola play, it's still a completely different type of legend or whatever compared to like a Frank Lampard, a John Terry, or a Didier Drogba. Like when you talk about a legacy, that spine we had, that was a legacy we had and we left. I don't think Hazard really leaves that much of a legacy except playing great football. If you mean, like, I don't think he himself is the ignition of our winning mentality. I don't think he himself is the ignition of everything good. Like, you can have Hazard score 3 goals, but if the defense bottle it, it's not going to happen. But if Didier Drogba played well and scored, there was no chance we weren't winning that game. There was no chance on earth that was ever happening. And that is kind of where I still see a difference. It doesn't mean I don't see Hazard as a legend. It doesn't mean I want to criticize him or, I don't know, hit a bad note today or whatever. But, it's just sometimes people, I don't want to say overhype him, but, and he is as good as everyone says he is. Of course he is.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I just mean as in how important he was and is for the club. Yes, he scored he was involved in 49% of all our goals this season, which is ridiculous and scary to think about for next season, quite frankly. Scary. But at the end of the day, you never know if whoever plays there instead, does then 40% of it. Yes, we don't know that. I mean, probably not, but we don't know that for sure. I'm not saying, he's not good enough or not a legend or any of that. I'm just saying, because you said the word legacy, I'm like, I don't know. Is there a legacy? I mean, would you say there is a legacy as such?
Well, I think we, not only in football, we all live our life and then we leave a legacy. In what form? It differs, of course. So he will leave a legacy, but of course, comparing the names that you mentioned, like Frank Lampard, Peter Cech, and so on, I thought the same. Yeah, I would even title. I mean, they're all legends, but Frank Lampard, John Terry, and the lot of that generation, those were heroes for me. Those are childhood heroes. Those were heroes that you could always trust. I mean, that's how I define a hero, that he will always come good. No matter, how shit it looks, 2012 against Barcelona, I mean, no one would have thought we will come back from that. And our players, those heroes, they showed on the field why we can always believe in them. Hazard isn't that kind of player. When we're playing well, or not even when we're always playing well, I mean, he can just, come up with brilliance. And that is something that we will be sorely missing, but he'll never be a hero for me. That's the differentiation. I mean, when we're talking about terminology, that I would make. Andy, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think legacy defines itself maybe after you've left. Then you say, okay, what are the memories that he gives to us? When I take into the future, say, when I'm sitting here in 10 years' time as a 33-year-old, maybe podcasting again, what will I say about Eden Hazard? And the things would be, I assume that in 10 years' time, there won't be a more gifted player playing for Chelsea Football Club. And I will be saying, well, these videos, that's what Eden Hazard, number 10 for Chelsea, did do for us. And it were brilliant times. We won 2 titles when he was playing here in the Premier League. We had, brilliant moments. He carried us for maybe, even half of the time he was here. To be perfectly honest, never really, except for Didier Drogba at the end of it, and of course had a striker, so it was all on him. I think his antics, like for me, even though he's 28 years of age, he's a little bit of a child, and that's maybe what you said when you say these players were heroes. Eden Hazard was just a gifted player. He was not one to to stand above everyone else when he was needed maybe to be a leader. So he's also these whole talks about him leaving or staying and him not really being decisive was kind of like a thing that it wasn't getting on my nerves necessarily, but I thought even yesterday, if there was any other player doing that, like let's say for instance Willian was doing that, going to the media and saying one thing one day and the other thing the next day, we would go ballistic. We would absolutely lose our shit about him. It's just because he's gifted and he is allowed things that other players aren't. I think I wouldn't hold it against him, but I think it leaves a little bit of a sour taste. I can't, however, say that he has ever said Chelsea is his boyhood club and he wants to play for Chelsea since he can't leave. He has never said that. He has always said Real Madrid is the club of his dreams, and if there is one time to pursue his dreams, it's when you're 28 years of age. It's the perfect time to be for him, so holding nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be his last big move. I mean, it was now or never. I don't think that Real Madrid would have waited another year, to be honest. They need to rebuild ASAP. So if they wouldn't have gotten Eden Hazard, who knows, maybe they would have gotten Nicolas Pepe or whoever else. I mean, it'll be interesting because Hazard will be going up against Vinicius, if I pronounce him correctly, Vinicius Jr., who plays on the left, and he's been pretty good this season for them. So, you know, I think all Chelsea fans will wish him well, ultimately, because the guy's he's given us so many moments of happiness over the years. 2 titles, Premier League titles, 2 Europa Leagues, 2 FA Cups, and a League Cup, not to forget that. I mean, we couldn't ask for more. I mean, it's basically, with the exception of the 15-16 season, we've won a trophy every year. Well, actually, no, 2013-14 also didn't. But generally, it was a brilliant success, his tenure here. So I think when he does leave, we should all be happy for him. Hope that Real Madrid fans don't tear him apart and that he will end his career there and maybe even come back one day in another role, though I can't actually really think about that yet because, I don't know, it seems a bit weird thinking about Hazard being a manager or some other role compared to, you know, the big greats like Peter Cech, who will be coming back. And that's actually the next point that I want to talk about. Peter Cech yesterday, arguably Arsenal's best man on the field. Not that was a big challenge, but, you know, a lot of people said he was their man of the match among a very, very dire side. He had tears in his eyes, of course. You know, he lost the final. It's the last game of his career, but Peter Cech, sporting director. I'm excited. What do you think? I mean, Laurenz, this is exciting, right? I mean, we've been craving one for ages.
It is exciting. It is very exciting, and I hope it's a good move on a board level for the first time in a pretty long time. At the same time, though, I always question these appointments of just appointing an ex-player, especially straight after their retirement. So what exactly are his credentials as a sporting director? I know it's not exactly being a manager, but you still sort of need to kind of know what you're doing and not go to training and play football every day up until then, because that's not what you actually end up doing. If you turn up as a goalkeeper coach, that's maybe a different story. He's kind of been doing that for the last 15 years, but he's never been a sporting director. So, that doesn't mean that I think it's a bad move. That just means that I don't think we will see the proper fruition of it for the next 2 years, maybe. That we will need to give him time, that the club will need to give him time to properly find his feet in a role like that. Or maybe get some help by someone else, whoever that may be. I don't know. But, I don't think you can expect miracles and Petr Cech to be, the sporting director of bloody dreams from July onwards. I think that would be a little bit too much to expect, but I think it's certainly good to have someone with a status within the club, back in the club, that might be able to basically have a bit more of a stronger back and forth with Marina and be a better middleman between Marina and the manager, a bit like Emanalo used to be, but he just got caught in the wildfire of Conte and Marina and couldn't really handle it, it seemed. And maybe Petr Cech is more up to that, especially with possibly Frank Lampard coming to Chelsea eventually. I don't think it's going to be this summer, but eventually probably will be there. And, then that structure, it's kind of just starting to come into place. I'm not sure what we're going to do with John Terry, because pretty sure he wants to be main, first team manager of Chelsea as well, which is a bit of an issue. Maybe Drogba comes back as a striking coach, for Tammy Abraham. That'd be good. But, it's a start, and I'm happy about it.
That bringing the old bad back together, that would be quite some achievement. One thing that they would definitely achieve with these kind of appointments is that you'd more or less get the connection back to the fans. There's that link, which we thought would actually happen with Gianfranco Zola. And, I think there's nobody on this planet that would say, I don't like Zola. The guy, you can just have to love him. You want to cuddle him. The guy's just such a friendly geezer. But, there have been calls, isn't he maybe a bit too overly friendly to the players as well? We don't know. To be fair, one can't say for sure. We don't listen to their conversations, their private ones. But you'd expect if Sarri were to leave at some point, then Gianfranco Zola will go with him. Whether he'd then take an ambassador role or some other technical role in club, we'll have to see. But continuing with Petr Cech, Andy Laurenz, he addressed something very pivotal in this whole sporting director search. Does he have the credentials? Just to put this in the room, he's a very intelligent guy. He speaks loads of different languages. He's got a great, Laurenz said that, but he's got a great connection to the hierarchy. Diplomatic, he's got charisma. He knows his football, you'd expect. Could this nevertheless be a role that he can't fill yet?
Well, he has the basis to be successful in this role. I would absolutely agree. Maybe, you mentioned languages he speaks. You mentioned the surrounding that he knows. You mentioned also maybe the way he deals with things. But this could also be the problem, because honestly, let's remind us back on the days where Thibaut Courtois came into the club and he was more or less handling one quite okay from him by Mourinho, where he said, "Well, I haven't decided. You will see on the first game day." And that was against Burnley, I remember, and I was sitting there watching the line, and of course the decision was give the younger goalkeeper the crack, and Thibaut Courtois was the number one for that season, and Petr Cech was number 2. And you could say he handled it professionally, because there was never any bad headlines about Jose Mourinho under this campaign. But maybe as legend at this stage, he was 10 years at the club. He should have had a say. He should have maybe worked with Jose Mourinho and got more games. So maybe, judging after that, he's a yes man. And if that is the case, if they knew that he is arguably immense, but a yes man, and he doesn't know his role because he is a professional football player at the end of the day, and he is doing a job that he isn't by no means equipped of doing yet, then he might have assistants, and these assistants are most likely being given their agenda by Marina. So he, via assistance, he's going to be spoon-fed what Marina wants. So once he maybe is ready, he's already indoctrinated by everything Marina wants, and he can't make his own decision. But maybe that's just a really bad outlook on the situation. But I think not a big deal will change. It starts next, and it's just good to have kind of that figure that represents us. And also for players, maybe incoming players, not next season, obviously, but when you have someone like Petr Cech coming up to your training, your hotel room, and saying we want you for Chelsea FC. It's a better statement than having some Russian girl coming up and saying, "Yeah, we have the big money and come to our football club." It's just, I think that's what you want to hear. That's what you want to see as a football player joining a football club. The representative is meeting you and telling you why you should be a football club. So for that sake alone, I'm happy to have Peter Cech.
I mean,
Can I just intervene there quickly? Because
Yeah.
I was wondering whether you have the same opinion of John Terry, because he was like, "No, I'm happy to not play if that means the team is winning." In the season we won the title under Conte, because he wasn't exactly like, "Nah, mate, I need to play more because I'm the captain. I've been here for 20 years or whatever." Which is kind of basically the same thing as what happened with Cech, except that it's a goalkeeper where it's just one position and not even just three. So you could argue it's actually worse for John Terry. I get where you're coming from. But I'm just wondering whether you see it the same way for example, Terry.
I get your argument. And I think it's valid. However, the only difference is that John Terry was 35, 36 years of age. He was at the end of his career. As a goalkeeper, Peter Cech, you see, he had 4 years at Arsenal, so he was well within the bracket of still play to the world class level, and he was not finished at all. So I think with John Terry, if he came 2 years earlier, as he came with Rafa Benitez, he had a fallout with Rafa Benitez, didn't he?
That's different.
So
Benitez, they had history. That you always have to keep in mind. They had history.
And at the same time, like I know what you're saying, but it's not really about where, to me anyway, where the player is in their career. It's more about, are they better or worse than whoever is playing instead of them? And Courtois at that time, yes, he was probably not a lot better, but with being so much younger, that just puts him above in my head. That's why it made sense to make that decision. Like, you'd be a bit silly to start Cech over Courtois when Courtois says, "Well, if I'm not starting, I'm leaving." And then you have a goalkeeper there. So, you know, at the end of the day, whether Cech sits on the bench or not, there's two options. Either he sits on the bench or he leaves. He was never going to start. Like, that was never going to happen. Like, even if he made a fuss out of it, he was never going to end up playing out of nowhere.
For sure. You know, club-wise, it made sense, of course. From a Chelsea perspective, I would always have given Courtois the crack. However, being Peter Cech, I would have taken it with a lot more pride in standing up maybe to this and saying, well, I'm not accepting number 2. At least give me half of or at least give me a chance when he's doing stupid mistakes. But he has never done that, and maybe at the stage of his career where I still expected him to do that. But however, that is just a sign for me that he might be a yes man, and that's the reason why he got the job. But maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong.
I mean, one could also say maybe he just, accepted Jose Mourinho's opinion because, I mean, they have respect for Jose Mourinho, the whole brigade. So, if the manager says you're not gonna play, just try your best, and he will have tried his best in training, then Peter Cech will have accepted that because he's just, the ultimate professional. I really don't think that he's a yes man. And this is also a new role. I mean, people are, players, and then they're a completely different person in, for example, a sporting director position. So I think one just has to look at that, because Jose Mourinho, for example, was a crap player, but he's a great manager, or was, depends on how you define him nowadays. But you get my point. The same with a lot of other players. So we'll just have to wait and see. But moving along to one of the more pressing issues, Laurenz already mentioned, with Frank Lampard maybe coming in. Maurizio Sarri. I don't know about you, but as I know that we're all, kind of, I'm not sure about Andy. He's on the fence, I think, there more. But in regard to Maurizio Sarri, I was so happy for him when I saw that video of him looking at the medal. Oh my God, that was so adorable. It was just so nice to see him, and that whole argument of him not having won anything finally being laid to rest. I mean, it seems ludicrous that the thought even comes to mind, but could it be that he then leaves Chelsea will he get the sack? I mean, it could also be that he says, yeah, I've done my thing in England. You're not really rating me. The fans are a pain in the ass. I'm off back to Italy. Laurenz, what's your view on the situation?
See, I personally think that he's being a lot more honest than people think that he's being. In the post-match press conference, for example, last night, when he said, well, I'll talk to the club and they'll tell me what they want me to improve and I'll tell them what I want them to improve and then we'll see. And I think that's actually pretty much spot on. I think that that's actually what's going to happen and what's going to decide whether he's going to stay, because if he doesn't get more backing, and that doesn't necessarily mean financial backing right now with the transfer ban, because I think we've all accepted by now that we are taking the transfer ban right now for the upcoming 2 windows. I think that just means just the backing within the club, just supporting him, just making, clear to fans, this is what's happening, making it clear to the media, this is what's happening. Just because as a club, you can stop that talk. You can stop that talk every week. Are we going to sack the manager? You can do that if you want to, but Chelsea have never been like that. We've never tried to do any of that. We've never tried to control the media in any sense, except by feeding Matt Law with some things. Like even Cech Fabregas said it, Chelsea could have stopped this whole turmoil that we're in pretty much every season. I mean, okay, every season is maybe a bit harsh, but almost every season, let's be honest. Yeah. There's always something, even when we won the title, it was like Diego Costa in January was, just not in the squad for 2 games because of a back problem. And then he gets sent a text message and he's gone after we just broke all sorts of records with Antonio Conte. Then you're like, can it not just be normal for once? And like, it's always something. And, that's why I think if the club promise him that backing, whether they will actually stick to that promise, I don't know. But if they promise him that, I think he, from his perspective, will say, I'll give it another year, or I'll give it as long as it needs, I guess, or as he wants, or as he gets. And from the club's perspective, I don't think they'll get rid of him. I don't think they'll want to pay off another manager. I don't really believe the rumors that he's first on Juventus's wish list. He might be on their wish list, but I don't believe that he's top of their wish list. If they pay him out, maybe that's a different story, and then maybe he'll want to go because saying, well, I can go to Juventus. I'm basically guaranteed the league title here. I'm getting paid more, and they like me a lot more. So why on earth wouldn't I go? Like, I totally understand him if he went to Juventus. That would make total sense. Like, just looking, as if I was him. But yeah, I don't see him leaving. I don't see with Frank Lampard losing the playoff final. Obviously, I'm not saying that was his fault. That was his goalkeeper's fault, if anything. Because he can't catch a ball apparently. But is that enough? Like, I'm not sure about you two, but I don't think Frank Lampard right now would be a smart idea in the slightest. Would be ridiculously stupid in my opinion. Because both is Frank Lampard not ready yet, in my opinion, but also the club isn't ready for Frank Lampard. It's not just about Lampard being ready. It's also about the other way. Because we'd get rid of him in a season or 2, and then we'd destroy the whole legacy. Of course, he would still be a legend within the fans and stuff, but it would still be a different climate between player and club, or former player between Lampard and club anyway. So I don't think we're ready for that. I don't think he's ready for that. So as bad as it sounds, and I've said this before, just let Sarri see out the bad period of the transfer ban, and then we'll see where we are. Just get the youth in, get us playing better football, and then we can see whether we get Lampard in say 2 years or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, but Andy, before we go into more detail about Lampard, because it does seem as if it's more of a matter of when than if nowadays, even if he doesn't come in this summer. What's your view on Sarri? Does he deserve to stay on? Could he have done anything better this season? What do you think?
Well, I don't even want to talk season-wise because I've done that on so many occasions. I think the only point of criticism was ever that we are too weak-minded and that we do mistakes over and over again. And if we had performances like yesterday, I think there wouldn't even be a discussion. I think that's what most of the fans, certainly myself, were crying out for, that we actually take a game by the scruff of the neck, being the more mature side, and then obviously win because this football club is winning. I told you before as well, it's not really the fashion in which we win. Maybe that will change because that was the initial thought to bring Sarri in. But you have to win. That's the basics of Chelsea Football Club. It doesn't matter how. Now with third place and the Europa League win, can't really fire him. If you do, you're just blatantly stupid. Especially with the next season, with the circumstances of next season being given. Laurenz said it already. Stupid to chuck a manager in, especially if his name is Frank Lampard in such a situation. I think Sarri now, with 1 year at the club, developed a situation where he can say, all right, I know my squad. There won't be much changes in personnel anyway because we can't do them. And yeah, we see that season through. Maybe secure yet again Champions League. However, in which way he ever wants to do that, I'm not sure because I'm not confident. But yeah, maybe we can do that. And then if that is the perfect, I guess it's the perfect scenario you can provide Frank Lampard for when you say, right, we're getting Champions League football yet again, and we're having maybe the finances because we haven't spent for 2 windows, that we actually can challenge also in a transfer window with the big boys. That would be enormous because also the Eden Hazard money can't be really spent, so that carries on until the window next summer, and that would be the perfect scenario to get Frank Lampard into that seat. Maybe 1 or 2 words on Frank Lampard as well. I said last week's podcast I don't want him to win the player final because I think with the side he had in Derby County, he would be hopeless in the Premier League, and he would have gotten sacked. I assume when he gets relegated, you don't go up and go down unless you're Burnley and keep the manager. That's what you don't do. It's very difficult for Chelsea then to appoint a second. So I just like to develop in Championship. My scenario would be he gets direct promotion next season and then goes to Chelsea.
I mean, to be fair, he has shown, and I think he said it himself, he's still got a lot to learn and a long way to go before he can really be classified as, a great manager. I mean, we know the guy's got unlimited football knowledge. He's a very, very intelligent person. I mean, not only intelligent as we say, he's got a really high IQ. And even though that doesn't mean that, you're a great football manager because you've got a high IQ, it's a great attribute to have in the game. And tactically speaking, I'm sure he's very astute. I mean, I feel inclined to agree on you with the Derby situation regarding, I don't think they would have stayed up. They would have probably gone down again. It's a great address also to have because we can send them Ethan Ampadu maybe. I mean, I think he's ready for the Premier League, but you never know. Any Deshaun Redden, for example, or anyone who we could send there, like Tomori once again, would be good. But and we can trust Frank there. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Maybe,
there.
Jimmy, one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, you mentioned yesterday that it is likely that Mason Mount is now loaned to Derby. Didn't you say that?
No, I said it's very likely that Mason Mount will come back to Chelsea because of Ruben Loftus-Cheek's injury. I remember the conversation that you were talking about. Whoever we were talking with said that, but not me. I said that Ruben Loftus-Cheek, his injury. I think we wouldn't have actually brought him back if Ruben wouldn't have been injured. I'm pretty sure he would have been loaned then, but as we have no choice because we go in with Barkley. I mean, that's it, unless we do still buy Kovacic, but still, we need goals from that position. And, doesn't mean that Mason Mount will score them, but at least he's got it in his locker. So I don't think so because, oh, God, what's his name? Something... whatever. I can't remember. But anyway, the owner of Derby said that, we're going to try and get Tomori back and maybe the one or the other name from Chelsea's academy / loan army. But he said he's pretty confident that Mason Mount won't be coming back. So that already tells you either we're planning to send him to the Premier League or we're actually going to make use of it. It does seem as if it's going to be the latter. So exciting. But
I mean, the ideal situation would be getting Mount in now with Barkley and Loftus-Cheek, and then once Mount is good enough, we just sell Barkley and then just have Ruben and Mason Mount because no one needs Barkley. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And as for Kovacic, I mean, we need a backup for Jorginho, so that's why I bloody hope we sign him because otherwise we're absolutely screwed there. Like the guy's already played what? Jorginho hasn't he played like in 60 of the 63 games or something stupid.
He's featured at least in that many games, definitely. Yeah, I'm not.
The guy runs the most in every single bloody game. I don't know how he does it. He's more of a machine than Kante. He doesn't run as quick, but he still runs.
Yeah. Would you keep Bakayoko, Laurenz?
Keep who? Bakayoko?
Yeah.
Oh. He's not a reducer, that we can say for sure.
No, for sure not. But I think he could, in certain games, be a backup for Kante, replacement for Kante in that role when you need a bit of a taller guy in there. But for that to work, I think he would have needed to be here this season and learn from Sarri for a season. I don't think a summer will be enough for him to be good enough on the ball to do that job. So that's why I don't think Sarri will want to keep him, even though I think it wouldn't be the worst idea.
He didn't want to keep him last summer either.
Exactly.
You know, that shouldn't forget that he was actually sent on loan because he wasn't deemed good enough, it seems, you know. I know he had a bad season, but still, you know, Sarri will have had.
But was that up to Sarri, or was he loaned out before?
No, he definitely played under Sarri because I can remember Sarri subbing him on. He definitely.
He played in Perth, didn't he? He played in Australia in that game.
Yeah, something like that. I have no clue. I can't even remember who we played against in pre-season last year because that is just that not important. So, yeah, but he definitely featured. That I can remember. Have to wait and see. Maybe you'll evaluate. I mean, we've still got Marco van Ginkel. I know
he's actually old by now. Like, isn't he like 25 or something?
Yeah,
he is.
Not that, you know, it's not that old. You know, he's a goal-scoring midfielder.
Yeah, but since when do Chelsea play people at 25 and basically signed them from PSV at 25? It's not quite our level, is it? Like,
no, but you know, never forget the whole Victor Moses situation. I mean, I know that was just a system-specific thing, but don't forget that this situation we find ourselves in. That is normal. Nothing is normal on this. We're in the transfer ban. We're in need of things that we can't buy. So I really cannot foresee what the club wants to do if we accept this.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what? I mean, let's have a bit more respect for a guy who looks exactly like you, for starters, in Marco van Ginkel.
What?
Second thing, Bakayoko. I mean, if you send out Ross Barkley and Cech, why don't give Bakayoko a crack? I mean, it's all about squad depth in a situation where we can't buy players. So it would be stupid to sell too many if you can't bring any in.
The difference between Barkley and Bakayoko is that Barkley's English. That's why Barkley's in the squad and Bakayoko isn't.
But I think
not because of ability.
I think you also meant sell Barkley at a later stage, not now. I mean, we'd be stupid to sell him now.
No, of course. But it's just because Andy said if we can play Barkley, you might as well play Bakayoko as well because Barkley's not that much better. And I completely get his point. The difference is just nationality.
Yeah, not only that, but Bakayoko can score goals. For that left centre mid position in Sarri's system, you need a goal-scoring midfielder, at least potentially. You know, Barkley doesn't score a lot, but he can theoretically score goals, the same as Mason Mount, Loftus-Cheek, etc. Bakayoko, have you seen him shoot? I mean, he couldn't.
Well, I mean, he scored more last season than he scored like 4 goals. Barkley only scored 5.
Okay, but nevertheless,
and 3 of them were in the Europa League. So.
I mean, we don't know. You know, if he plays against, I don't know, what was it, Spurs or something, you know, which would be League One in England.
No. I mean, at Chelsea, he scored 4 goals last season.
Yeah, but he had performances like against Watford, so that doesn't count.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying the goal scoring thing isn't that much worse than Barkley.
I think that's debatable because Barkley just even if Bakayoko scored 4 goals or 5 goals, whatever he scored. Barkley generally just the way he plays, even though it's not good at times, it's just more fitting to Sarri's system than Bakayoko.
Yeah, I don't think we were talking about Bakayoko in that role. If anything, as a backup to Kante rather than on the left.
No, but that's what Andy was talking about when selling Barkley for, you know, sell Barkley but keep Bakayoko, because we already spoke about this briefly yesterday in the studio that on the left, he doesn't work. You know, we've seen with Kovacic this season, when we play someone who more or less goes to the penalty box and then just wants to turn around again because he just doesn't like to shoot. We're not going to score goals by that, especially when our strikers are so dire as they are at the moment. So yeah, it's a difficult situation. But looking at the time, I think we should come to an end soon. I mean, we have talked about quite a few things. So I'll just come to two, shorter questions and also some short answers. Do you think Maurizio Sarri will still be here next season, Laurenz? Just in a few words, or yes or no?
Yes, I kind of explained why earlier anyway, but yeah, I do think so. Not 100%, but I do think so.
Andy?
I would also say yes. Everything else would be stupid. Frank Lampard isn't equipped to do the job now. So, yeah. Okay.
Second question, and this is one, next to this, the manager question, the big one. Will we get to buy players this season? Will we accept the ban or will we not accept the ban? Or will we go to CAS to freeze it? Let's say it like that, because we can't actually appeal the ban itself, but just about freezing it. Laurenz?
Well, I bloody hope not, because to me, by now, it's stupid. I mean, it's almost June now. Even if we get it frozen, like, as far as I'm aware, the way I, got it when I read things about it, is even if we got it frozen, it wouldn't be frozen from right now. So we probably have like 2 or 3 weeks off the window to actually sign people.
Yeah.
If that's correct. And for 2 or 3 weeks of signing people, which we know we're really bad at because we're horrible at getting things done quickly in the transfer market, for 2 or 3 weeks to push the entire ban on by another full window, and that another full window would be a summer for us, leaving us with, only being able to sign players again in a January window, that just makes no sense. Like, to me, that's not smart at all. Like, you can't buy good enough players and enough players this summer anyway. We're not in a position financially, pulling wise. We just lost Hazard. All these good players will be like, well, they just sold the best player, and now I'm meant to come, or what now? Like, we have to try and get somewhere within the next 12 months and then sign someone next summer, in my opinion, to properly, help the squad improve. And also in that 12 months, we can see what we can do with certain players. How far can Hudson-Odoi get? How far can Loftus-Cheek get? Even though they both obviously will miss part of next season with the injury. Not sure about Hudson-Odoi, but Loftus-Cheek a little bit anyway. Possibly like Mason Mount, possibly like Zuma, Reece James, or Aina. You'll have to wait and see. And then you can decide, who do we actually need? Right now, you could say, maybe we need a right back. What if Reece James isn't good enough? Maybe we need another centre mid. What if Mason Mount isn't good enough? Maybe we need another centre back. What if Zuma isn't good enough? Next summer, we should know whether they are good enough or not, and then we can make a decision on that. That's why signing players now wouldn't really make sense to me. Sign Kovacic. If you have to sign Higuain, I don't mind. I would love to have Tammy Abraham as just there. And then whoever is best plays, whether it's Giroud, Higuain, or Tammy Abraham, I don't care. But I want 3 strikers at the club. We need to stop this bollocks of having 2 strikers. It's stupid. Like, you're way too quick to have long-term injuries. Look at Loftus-Cheek now. We had 5 midfielders. Well, with Kante, kind of got back now. But say Kante was injured for last night, we only had 3 midfielders. You can't only have 2 strikers. Once you get one injured and then you play every 3 days, one striker has to play every game, every week. Stupid. You can't do that. You need 3 strikers. So that's why, fair enough, buy Higuain, have Tammy Abraham, then just play whoever's best,
Okay. No, fair. Andy?
I forgot the initial question.
The initial question was, will we see a transfer window be the possible for Chelsea or not? Maybe in a few words, because we're...
Yeah, sure. I think it would be, with the situation being as it is, it would be stupid to try to uplift it, because we haven't prepared any transfers whatsoever. We haven't the financial means to do any. And if you, like, dating back to what Jose Mourinho said when he was Manchester United, he said 4 times transfer window, he went to the Manchester United board and said he wants these 4 players. So obviously the time isn't given. We can quick to make transfers. Absolutely stupid to uplift it. get Sarri to make that one season, because otherwise, if Frank Lampard comes in next summer, he will have to face a transfer ban. That would be stupid. Season as a season where also us fans, we might not have success, but the success will be to actually integrate for once our loan army players, youth players, and I think if we do that and 2 or 3 players get into the first, I think that would be a huge success, and I would even play if we do that. I would be so happy to see Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, the other players getting a crack. I hope we are not uplift the transfer ban or do uplift it.
Okay.
Can I just ask you guys a quick question, because I'm intrigued into your opinion? Did you think Lacazette should have had a penalty yesterday? Because I personally thought we got away with one there. Because as light as the contact was, Kepa's hands did touch Lacazette's shin, and then he went down and then he collided with the head or whatever.
Well,
I've never seen a penalty like that not given. Never. When the ref saw what happened, I've never seen it not given.
But I think for time reasons, we can talk about that afterwards. But because otherwise, if it's longer than the out, then we can't actually.
I give you a quick answer. Come on, I give you a quick answer. I say first glance, I said yes. Penalty. Second glance, with the review, I said no.
All right. Well, I would also love to go into detail about that, but time-wise, otherwise it's a bit of a problem with the uploading. One thing one will still say regarding the transfer ban, we will know about whether we're going to appeal or not very soon, because we only have a few more days to do it. So we'll get clarity in that regard very, very soon. That's all from us for today. Unfortunately, because I'm sure we could have spoken for another hour over everything Chelsea after that great game yesterday, and unfortunately an uncertain future in many regards. But we wouldn't be Chelsea Football Club if everything was, as clear cut as we think it, or as we would like it to be. I want to say one more thing regarding Andy, of course, leaving the podcast. Andy, it's been a pleasure. We've had a great time since September. Always love working together with you. Maybe we can see you come on the podcast incognito at some point in the future. And, of course, I wish you all the best at your new job without going into detail there. So, it
is a pleasure.
And, yes, Laurenz, we will be, of course, speaking quite often now. Look forward to that. We'll still go into detail about what is going to happen with the podcast. We will keep you up to date. Until then, please do follow us everywhere on social media, on Twitter, but also please do subscribe on YouTube and our channel. The links will be in the description below. Give us a great rating on iTunes. It would be very much appreciated. Normally we would plug each other, but as Laurenz is going to be part of this channel and this podcast from now on, I think we can scratch that for today. I think that's it. Be happy, celebrate this win, Chelsea fans, and we'll see you again in next week with our last episode, and you'll get more information then. Until then, up the Chelsea and keep the blue flag flying high.